Hello, friends, welcome to the episode 14 of Mahabharata Reading Challenge. As always, we are going to start with the prayers. Shri Guru Charan Saroj Raj, Nijman Mukur Sudhari, Parnav Raghuvar, Bimal Jasu, Ju Dayaku Falchari. बुद्धिहीन तानु जानी के सुमिरो पवन कुमार बल बुद्धि विद्या देहु मोहि हरहु कलेस बेकार. Knowing that this mind of mine has less intelligence, I remember the son of wind, who granting me strength, wisdom and all kinds of knowledge, removes all my sufferings and shortcomings. निश्चय प्रेम प्रतीत ते बिने करे सन्मान, तेहि के कारज सकल शुभ सिद्ध करे हनुमान. जय हनुमान संत हितकारी, सुन लीजिए प्रभु अर्ज हमारी, जन के काज विलम्ब न कीजिए, आतुर दोर महासुख दीजिए. आंखें देखे मौन मुख, सहा कहा नहीं जाए, लेख विधाता का लिखा, कौन किसे समझाए, कौन किसे समझाए. वचन दिया सोचा नहीं, होगा क्या परिणाम, सोच समझ कर कीजिए जीवन में हर काम. जीवन को समझा रहा जिया हुआ इतिहास, जब तक तन में श्वास है तब तक मन में आस, तब तक मन में आस. आस कह रही श्वास से धीरज धरना सीख, मांगे बिन मोती मिले, मांगे मिले न भीख, मांगे मिले न भीख. है कथा संग्राम की, विश्व के कल्याण की, धर्म अधर्म आदि अनंत, सत्य असत्य कलेश कलंक, स्वार्थ की कथा परमार्थ की. शक्ति है भक्ति है, जन्मों की मुक्ति है, जीवन का ये संपूर्ण सार है. युग युग से कण कण में, सृष्टि के दर्पण में, वेदों की कथा अपार है, धर्मों की गाथा है, देवों की भाषा है, सदियों के इतिहास का प्रमाण है. कृष्णा की महिमा है, गीता की गरिमा है, ग्रंथों का ग्रंथ ये महान है. महाभारत महाभारत महाभारत. सुख करता दुख हरता, वार्ता विघ्नाची हो, वार्ता विघ्नाची. नुरवी पूर्वी प्रेम कृपाया जायाची, सर्वांगी सुंदर उतिशेंदुराची हो, उतिशेंदुराची. कांठी जाल के मालम मुक्ता फलांची. जय देव जय देव जय मंगल मूर्ति, जय देव जय मंगल मूर्ति. दर्शन मात्रे मन कामना पूर्ति, जय देव जय मंगल मूर्ति हो. श्री मंगल मूर्ति दर्शन मात्रे मन कामना पूर्ति, जय देव जय मंगल मूर्ति. Think him as Vishnu while taking medicine, as Janardhan while eating food, as Padmanabha while in bed, as Prajapati at the time of marriage, as Chakradhara while engaged in war, as Trivikrama while on travel, as Narayana on deathbed, as Sridhara while meeting with the beloved, as Govinda while tossing with bad dreams, as Madhusudan while in trouble, as Narsimha while in the forest, as Jalasayana while fire is ravaging, as Vara while struggling in water, as Raghunandan while lost in a mountain, as Vamana while on the move, and as Madhava while doing everything. यह तो प्रेम की बात है, उदो बंदगी तेरे बस की नहीं है, यहाँ सर्दे के होते हैं सौदे, आशिकी इतनी सस्ती नहीं है. प्रेम वालों ने कब वक्त पूछा, उनकी पूजा में सुन ले उदो, यहाँ दम दम में होती है पूजा, सर झुकाने की फुर्सत नहीं है. जो असल में है मस्ती में डूबे, उन्हें क्या परवाह जिंदगी की. जो उतरती है चढ़ती है मस्ती, वो हकीकत में मस्ती नहीं है. जिसकी नज़रों में शाम प्यारे, वो तो रहते हैं जग से न्यारे. जिसकी नज़रों में मोहन समाए, वो नज़र फिर तरसती नहीं है. कर्पूर गौरम करुणावतारम, संसार सारम भुजगेंद्रहारम, सदा वसंतम हृदय रविंदे भवम भवानी सहितम नमामि. I bow to Bhavani as well as to Lord Shiva, who is with white as camphor, who is compassion incarnate, who is the essence of the world, who wears a garland of large snake, and who always dwells in lotus-like hearts of his devotee. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. जब याद तुम्हारी आती है, मैं तेरे दर पर आता हूँ, अपने सुख दुख को हे ठाकुर मैं रो रो कर तुम्हें सुनाता हूँ. जब याद तुम्हारी आती है, मैं तेरे दर पर आता हूँ. तुम मेरे हो मैं तेरा हूँ, बस और कुछ नहीं याद मुझे. ये ध्यान सदा मेरे मन में रहे, ये विनय सुनाने आता हूँ. जब याद तुम्हारी आती है, मैं तेरे दर पर आता हूँ, अपने सुख दुख को हे ठाकुर मैं रो रो कर तुम्हें सुनाता हूँ. फूलों में तुम्हारी खुशबू है, पत्तों में तुम्हारी हस्ती है, पर फूल नहीं है पास मेरे, बस तो नयन चढ़ाने आया हूँ. फूलों में तुम्हारी खुशबू है, पत्तों में तुम्हारी हस्ती है, पर फूल नहीं है पास मेरे, बस नयन चढ़ाने आया हूँ. जब याद तुम्हारी आती है, मैं तेरे दर पर आता हूँ, अपने सुख दुख को हे ठाकुर मैं रो रो कर तुम्हें सुनाता हूँ. तुम मेरे प्यारे सावरिया, मेरा तुमसे हमेशा नाता है, नहीं और मेरा कोई सुनता है, मैं तुम्हें सुनाने आया हूँ. जब याद तुम्हारी आती है, मैं तेरे दर पर आता हूँ, अपने सुख दुख को हे ठाकुर मैं रो रो कर तुम्हें सुनाता हूँ. मंगल मूर्ति मारुति नंदन, सकल अमंगल मूल निकंदन, पवन तने संतन हितकारी, हृदय विराजित अवध बिहारी. जय 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 बजरंग बली, महावीर हनुमान गुसाई. नटखट बंसी वाले गोकुल के राजा, मेरी अखियाँ तरस गई अब तो आजा. नटखट बंसी वाले गोकुल के राजा, मेरी अखियां तरस गई अब तू आजा। गोपी जन रास रास अभिलाषी, कौरव कालिंग कंस विनाशी, हिमकार बाणुक सब प्रकाशी, सर्व बहुत ही वस वैयाखी, बोलो जय कन्हैया की। अच्युतम केशवम कृष्ण दामोदरम राम नारायणम जानकी वल्लभम। अच्युतम केशवम कृष्ण दामोदरम राम नारायणम जानकी वल्लभम। कौन कहते हैं भगवान आते नहीं, तुम मीरा के जैसे बुलाते नहीं। अच्युतम केशवम कृष्ण दामोदरम राम नारायणम जानकी वल्लभम। कौन कहते हैं भगवान खाते नहीं, बेशबरी के जैसे खिलाते नहीं। कौन कहते हैं भगवान खाते नहीं, बेशबरी के जैसे खिलाते नहीं। कौन कहते हैं भगवान सोते नहीं, माँ यशोदा के जैसे सुलाते नहीं। कौन कहते हैं भगवान सोते नहीं, माँ यशोदा के जैसे सुलाते नहीं। अच्युतम केशवम कृष्ण दामोदरम राम नारायणम जानकी वल्लभम। कौन कहते हैं भगवान नाचते नहीं, गोपियों की तरह तुम नचाते नहीं। कौन कहते हैं भगवान नाचते नहीं, गोपियों की तरह तुम नचाते नहीं। नाम जपते चलो काम करते चलो, हर समय कृष्ण का ध्यान करते चलो। नाम जपते चलो काम करते चलो, हर समय कृष्ण का ध्यान करते चलो। अच्युतम केशवम कृष्ण दामोदरम राम नारायणम जानकी वल्लभम. So friends, today we are going to start with chapter number 14, Karna and the Grandsire, until brave brave Bhagadatta. And this is our day 14. Congratulations friends, we have come here. We have finished until 78th chapter. We are going to finish until 78th chapter today. That's day 14. Okay, so 74. Karna and the Grandsire. When he learned that Bhima lay wounded and dying, Karna hurried to the place and fell at his feet and said, "Eldest of the race, Radha's son, who through no fault of his incurred your great displeasure, humbly prostrates himself before you." When after humble salutation Karna stood up, the grandsire, greatly moved, tenderly placed his hand on Karna's head and blessed him. "You are not Radha's son, young man," he said in loving tones. "You are Kunti Devi's own firstborn. Narada, who knows all the secret of the world, himself revealed this to me. Son of Surya, truly I entertained no dislike for you, but I was grieved to see your increasing hatred of the Pandavas, although they give you no cause for it. I know and admire your valor and your open handedness, and I know also that you belong to the class of Falguna and Krishna in prowess. It is proper that you befriend the Pandavas. Therein lies the right path for you, who are their brothers. With the closing of my part in this war, may the chapter of your enmity also close. This is my wish, Karna." Karna listened respectfully and replied, "Grandsire, I know I am Kunti's son and not charioteer born, but I have eaten Duryodhan's salt and must be true to him. To be true to my own lineage, it is impossible for me to go over to the Pandavas now. You must permit me to repay with my life. If it is so, be the debt I owe to Duryodhan for his love and trust. I have erred greatly in the word and deed. You must forgive me in all and give me your blessings." The great Acharya, who knew all the laws of right conduct and what Karna said, replied, "Do reflect for a while and then do as you wish, for that is the right way." Even when Bhishma was mortally wounded and lay dying, the battle did not cease. Discarding the grandsire's words of wisdom, the Kauravas resumed the battle. Deprived of Bhishma's leadership, the Kauravas' force felt like sheep without a shepherd. When Bhishma no longer led them, indeed, even as Bhishma fell wounded, the men shouted, "O Karna, you are the one left to lead and protect us." The Kauravas' warrior felt that If but Karna would agree to take up the command, victory was certain. During the first 10 days, when Bhishma led the forces, the son of Surya kept away from the battle. As already narrated, deeply hurt at the grandsire contempt, Karna had said, "So long as you are up fighting, I shall keep aloof. If you slay the Pandavas and bring victory to Duryodhan, I shall be glad, and I shall then, taking the king's leave, go to the forest. But if you be defeated and go to abode of the brave, I am not deemed by you as an Adhiratha, will ride my chariot and oppose those whom you deem to be of great prowess than myself, and defeating them bring victory to Duryodhan." Thus had Karna sworn, and with Duryodhan's consent kept aloof from the battle during the first 10 days. Now he went on foot to Bhishma, who lay on his bed of arrows, waiting for his end, and saluting him, addressing him thus: "Veteran grandsire, vanquisher of Parshurama, you lie on the field of battle, struck down by Shikandan. If you had reached the summit of right living and were an embodiment of purity itself, must lie wounded in this manner. It is clear that no one can attain in this world that he deserves by his merit. You were the one boat on which the Kauravas prince depended for crossing the flood of their troubles. Heavy indeed will be the blows that the Pandavas will now deal at the Kauravas, and great will be their consequent distress, like fire and wind burning down the forest. Arjuna and Krishna will destroy the army of Kauravas, this is certain. Turn your gracious eye on me and bless me, who have accepted the command of the forces." Bhishma gave his blessings to Karna. "You are like the good earth to the seeds, like rain clouds to living beings, ever dependable, firm in your loyalty. Serve Duryodhan and save him. You vanquished the Kambojas for him. You put down the Kiratas of the Himalayan fastness for him. You fought the Girivar Rajas on his behalf and defeated them. Many more things you have accomplished for him. Take charge of Kaurva army now as your own rich possession and guard it well. May you lead Duryodhan's forces to success. May you have every good fortune. Fight your enemies, go." Karna, having received the benediction of the grandsire, mounted his chariot and rode to the battlefield. When the valorous Karan entered the field on his war chariot, Duryodhan's joy knew no bounds. His sorrow at having lost Bhishma was in some degree elevated. Drona in command. Duryodhan and Karna held council as to who should be put in supreme command of the forces. "Well, every one of these princely warriors fighting on your side is great enough to be put in charge of our forces as supreme commander," said Karna. "All these kings are of equal prowess, strength, energy, skills, courage, valor, ancestry, and wisdom. They cannot all be put in joint command, and in any of them be chosen, each of other would feel hurt and may not put forth his whole strength in the cause. Thereby we stand to suffer. So my advice is that we install Dronacharya, the teacher of all of these prince and warriors, as supreme commander. He indeed is the greatest of all those that carry arms today. No Kshatriya equals him in the qualities required for leading our army. Let us therefore install him." Duryodhan agreed that this was the right thing to do, and so it was decided. Duryodhan went to Dronacharya, and in the presence of the assembled warriors and princes bowed and addressed him: "Revered master, you are unrivaled among all those assembled here in caste, ancestry, knowledge of science, age, wisdom, valor, and skill. I beg of you to accept the supreme command. Under your command, this army will be victorious." The assembled king received this proposal with loud cheers and war cries that gladdened Duryodhan's heart. Drona was installed in due form amidst thunderous acclamation. The praise of the courtiers and the sound of trumpets that accompanied the ceremony made the Kauravas feel as though they had already vanquished the army. So great was their enthusiasm and confidence in Drona's leadership. Drona arrayed the army in circular formation. Karan, who had till then stood aside, was now seen moving about in his great chariot on the battlefield, and this put new courage and joy into the hearts of the Kaurava soldier. The talk went round in the army that the great Bhishma did not wish to slay the sons of Pandu and therefore had not put his whole heart in the fight. But now that Karna was in the field, it was certain that Pandavas would be destroyed. Dronacharya was in command for 5 days of the battle. Though of advanced years, he was everywhere in the field and displayed the fierce energy of a young warrior whenever he led an attack. The Pandav force were scattered like clouds before a storm. He personally engaged the greatest warriors on the Pandava side in the battle. He fought Satyaki, Bhima, Arjuna, Drishtadyumna, Abhimanyu, Draupada, and Kasiraja and defeated them on many occasions. He harassed and inflicted severe punishment on the Pandava army during the 5 days he was in command. As soon as Drona assumed command of the Kauravas' forces, Duryodhan, Karan, and Dushasan sat in council and decided on a plan. And Duryodhan went to Dronacharya to put it into the operation. Acharya, we desire that you should capture Yudhishthira alive and give him over to us. We desire nothing more, not even a total victory. If you achieve this for us, we shall all be exceedingly satisfied with your conduct of war. When Drona heard Duryodhan address him thus, great was his joy, for he hated the very idea of slaying the Pandava's brother. Even though to fulfill his obligation, the Acharya loyally joined the Kaurava side against the Pandavas. He loved the sons of Kunti and especially the pure-minded Yudhishthira. So when he heard Duryodhan request that Yudhishthira should be captured alive, he felt greatly relieved. Duryodhan, may you be blessed, the Acharya said. Do you too wish to abstain from killing Yudhishthira? How it gladdens my heart. Truly Yudhishthira is one without an enemy, and the name Ajatshatru, which the people have given to Kunti's eldest son, has been justified by your great decision. When even you have made your mind that he should not be killed but should be captured alive, his unrivaled glory has become 10 times enhanced. I see, dear Duryodhan, what you intend. Drona continued, you wish to defeat the Pandavas in battle and then give them their share in the kingdom and live in peace and amity with them. I see this clearly from your desire to capture Yudhishthir alive. Drona was exceedingly glad and he said again, indeed Yudhishthir is the most fortunate man on the earth. The gods are showering their favors on Kunti's good son, so has he won the hearts of even enemies. But Duryodhan's motives in wishing to take Yudhishthira alive were far different. As soon as Drona acceded to his proposal and gave his pledge that he would do his best to capture Yudhishthira, he began to reveal his real intentions. If Yudhishthira were slain, nothing would be gained by it, and the anger of Pandavas would be all of greater. The battle would rage more fiercely than before, and Duryodhan knew that it would only mean the utter defeat of his army. Even if the fights were to be continued relentlessly until both armies were destroyed, Krishna would still remain alive and he would put either Draupadi or Kunti in sovereign possession of the kingdom. What then was the point in killing Yudhishthira? On the other hand, if Yudhishthira was captured alive, Duryodhan thought the war would end and more speedily and victoriously for the Kauravas. Therefore, thereafter he could surely play on Yudhishthira's goodness and his loyalty to the traditional code of Kshatriya's conduct. It was pretty certain he could be drawn into the battle of dice again and sent to the forest once more. 10 days of fighting had demonstrated to Duryodhan that further fighting would only result in the destruction of the race, not the fulfillment of desire. When Duryodhan made his motives clear to Drona, the Acharya was greatly disappointed and he cursed Duryodhan in his heart. But whatever the reason for it, it was glad that Yudhishthira was not to be killed. The news that Drona had given a solemn assurance to Duryodhan that he would take Yudhishthira a prisoner was carried by their spies to the Pandava army. The Pandavas knew that when the Acharya was determined on something and gave his pledged word for executing it, his unrivaled eminence in the art of war and his valor made it most serious affair. So they soon got busy and so arrayed the forces that the Yudhishthira was never left unsupported. Whatever movement might take place, they always took care to leave sufficient protection against any surprise attack on Yudhishthira. In the first days, battle under the leadership of Drona, the Acharya amply demonstrated his great skills and energy. He moved about destroying the Pandava forces like a fire burning up dry logs. His rapid movements made the Pandava army feel as if Drona was everywhere at the same time, showering arrows like rain and converting the battlefield into a stage for the dance of god of death. He cut the Pandava army in twain where Drishtadyumna stood. Many were the single combats among renowned warriors. There was a fierce battle between Sahadeva and Shakuni, skilled in illusion warfare. When their chariots broke, they aligned on the ground and like two hills sprung to the life and motion, they struck each other with maces and closed with one another in single combat between Bhima and Vimam Vivimasti. There was a great battle in which chariots were broken on both sides. Salya fought his nephew Nakula and harassed him exceedingly, smilingly, most provokingly all the time. But in the end, Salya had his car smashed and the flag brought down, and he withdrew, admitting defeat. Between Kripacharya and Drishtaketu, there was a battle in which the latter was worsted. So also was the fierce fighting between Satyaki and Kritavarma and between Vritta and Karna. Abhimanyu's valor was also demonstrated as he fought Paurava, Kritavarma, Jayadratha and Salya single-handed and made them withdraw. Then there was a great combat between Salya and Bhimsena in which Salya was defeated and made to retire. The Kaurava forces began to lose courage and the Pandava army, who saw this, attacked the Kaurava army with renewed energy and broke its rank. When Drona saw this, he decided to restore last morale by leading a straight attack on Yudhishthir. His golden chariot went forward, drawn by four noble Sindhu heroes in the direction of Yudhishthir. Yudhishthir answered with barbed arrows feathered with eagle feathers, but Drona did not mind and advanced at great speed. Yudhishthir's bow was cut down and Drona was coming very near. Drishtadyumna tried to intercept Drona, but in vain. The whole army shouted, Yudhishthir has been taken. So near came Drona. Suddenly then Arjuna appeared in the battlefield, the earth rumbling under the wheel of his chariot as it coursed swiftly over the bloody field, over bones and bodies lying in heaps. Drona held back, for Arjun had come on the scene. From his Gandiva bow issued a continuous stream of arrows. No one could see the shafts taken out of quiver or placed in position. It seemed as if from out of the great bow an unending flood of arrows issued without intermission. The battlefield was darkened by flying missiles. Drona retreated. Yudhishthir was not taken. The battle was stopped for the day and the Kaurava forces went to their camp in the Chestin moon. The Pandava army marched proudly to camp and behind them walked Keshava and Arjuna conversing. Thus closed the 11th day of the battle. The 12th day. The attempt to capture Yudhishthir alive failed. Drona was speaking to Duryodhana about this. It is clear we cannot succeed in our efforts to seize Yudhishthir so long as Dhananjay is nearby. It is no want of interest on my part. If by some stratagem we could draw Arjun away to some other part of the field, I could pierce the Pandavas' formation and capture Yudhishthir. I promise to seize him and will deliver him to you, provided he does not flee from the battle, renouncing honor. If he does that, then also we win. Indeed, do we not? The chief of the Trigarta Desa, who heard Drona say this, talked it over with his brothers and they made a plan. They resolved to take the Samsaptka oath and challenge Arjun to the battle and drew him away from Yudhishthir's side. Accordingly, together with a large force, they gathered and sat before the fire dressed in matted grass and went through funeral gifts and ceremonies for themselves as if already dead and took their oath, not till we have killed Dhananjay we'll turn back. If we flee in the fear from the battle, may we be punished for the deadly sin. Having adjured themselves thus before the sacred fire, they marched south for the for that was the direction of death, and shouted, "O Arjuna," challenging him to battle. It was a great suicide squad organized to achieve what Drona had pointed out to essential. Arjuna turned to Yudhishthira and addressed him, "Thus, King, the Samsaptakas are calling me to battle. I am pledged to accept the challenge thus thrown out. Susarma and his men are calling me to the battle. I shall destroy them all and return. Permit me to go." "Brother, beloved," said Yudhishthira, "you know Drona's intention. Keep that in mind and do whatever you think fit. He has promised Duryodhan to take me alive. He is a matchless warrior, brave, strong, and skilled in every branch of archery. He knows no fatigue, and nothing escapes his watchful eyes." "King, here is Satyajit standing in support of you," replied Arjuna. "As long as he is alive and by you, nothing can happen to you." So saying, Arjuna asked the Panchala prince Satyajit to stand guard by Yudhishthira's side and marched off like a hungry lion to meet the Samsaptakas. There Krishna see the Trigartas standing cheerful under the intoxication of their oath. Though they know they go to certain death, indeed they are full of exultation of approaching Swarga. So speaking to his great charioteer, Arjun approached the large Samsaptka force. This was the 12th day of the great battle. It was a fierce fight. After a time, Arjun's attack began to tell, and Trigartas fell in the sweats before him. But Susarma reminded them of their oath. "Heroes, we have taken our oaths before the fire in the presence of whole army of warriors. Having sworn terrible resolves, it is unworthy to flinch. Let us not fall into public ridicule." Thus some Saptakas cheered their leader and faced Arjuna with the sublime courage of accepted deaths. "Rishikesha, they are resolved on fighting to the last. Drive on," said Arjuna. Driven by Madhusudana Krishna, Arjun's chariot moved like Indra's car in the great war of the god against Asura. It went here, it went there, and wherever it went, Arjuna's great bow, the Gandiva, scattered death among the doomed Trigartas. The burst of blood in their compact ranks compact rank was the burst of Palasa blossom in the springtime forest. The fighting was severe. At one time, Arjun's car and flagpole were immersed in darkness under the downpour of arrows. "Are you alive?" Dhananjay shouted Krishna. "Yes," replied Arjuna, and pulling the strings of Gandhiva, the star shaft that dispelled the arrow shower. It was like Rudra dance of dissolution. The field was full of severed limbs and headless bodies and presented a terrible spectacle. As Arjuna proceeded to oppose the Samsaptakas, Drona gave orders for a violent assault on the Pandava forces at the point where Yudhishthira stood. Yudhishthira saw this movement and spoke to the Panchala prince Drishtadumna. "The Brahmana is coming to seize me. Look after the forces with vigilance." The son of Draupada did not wait for Drona to advance but marched forward in his car himself to meet Drona. Dronacharya avoided Drishtadumna, for well he knew that his death was destined to be at his hands, and that death was not yet due, and he wheeled his chariot in another direction where Draupada was leading his forces. Draupada's forces suffered heavy punishment at Drona's hands, and blood flowed in streams on the battlefield. Drona then again turned his attention to Yudhishthira. The Pandavas stood firm and answered Drona's attack with shower of arrows. Satyajit made a charge on Drona's car, and there was a fierce combat in which Drona's figure assumed the grimness of the destroyer. Many a warrior was slain by him in succession. Vrika, a prince of Panchala, as well as Satyajit fell dead. Seeing this, Stanika, son of Virata, marched against Drona. In a moment, Satanika's severed head rolled on the ground with the golden kundalas shining in the earlobes. Ketama, another chief, followed the attack, but he too perished. Then Vasudhana rushed forward to stop the advance of Drona, but he too fell dead. Yudhamanyu, Satyaki, Shikandin, and Uttam Uttamajas, who came to push Drona back, were repulsed, and all these great warriors had to retreat. Drona was now almost within reach of Yudhishthir. At that moment, Panchalya, another son of Draupadi, rushed madly up to stop the Acharya and fought most dis- desperately. But he too was mortally wounded and fell from his chariot like a failing star. Then Duryodhan was delighted and said exultingly to Karna, Radheya, do you see the valor of our mighty leader? No more will the Pandavas be inclined toward battle. See how their army reels under Drona's blow. Karna shook his head. Do not be so confident, he said. The Pandavas are not to be so easily vanquished. They will never surrender. The wrongs they have undergone are too great to be forgotten. You try, you tried to poison and kill them. You tried to burn them alive. You have grieved and humiliated them at the game of dice. And you have forced them out to live in the forest for long years. They will not surrender. See there, their army has rallied and all their forces are leading a combined attack on Drona. There see Bhima, Satyaki, Yudhamanyu, Shatradharna, Nakula, Uttamajus, Draupada, Virata, Shikandin, Drishtaketu, and other warriors have all come to protect Yudhishthir and all processing Drona hard and are pressing Drona hard. We should not stand idly watching when we have put such a heavy burden on the Acharya. Great as he, there is still a limit of load even he can carry. Even wolves combined in large number can harass and kill a mighty elephant. Let us proceed. It will not do any longer to leave Drona unsupported. Brave Bhagadatta. Drona made many attempts to take Yudhishthir prisoner but failed. Duryodhan led a large elephant division against Bhima. Bhima defended himself from his chariot with well aimed arrows. He sent crescent headed shafts and tore down Duryodhan's flag and cut down his bow even as he held it in his hand. Seeing the king harassed in this manner, the Malicha, King Anga, marched against Bhimsena seated on a huge elephant, but Bhima sent shafts that laid the elephant low and killed the Malicha king, which resulted in scattering the section of the Kaurava forces in fear and confusion. When the elephants stampeded, the horses also took fright, and thousands of footmen were trampled under the feet of elephants and the horses. Flying in wild panic, seeing this great confusion and scattering of the Kaurava forces in all directions, the king of Pragjyotisha, the brave Bhagdatta, grew indignant. He got up on his renowned elephant Supratika and charged against Bhimsena. The gigantic beast rushed forward with the widespread ear and twirling trunks, crashed into Bhimsena's chariot, and in an instant heroes and vehicles were an unrecognizable mass. But Bhima escaped by jumping off the car in the nick of time. He knew about elephant. He got below the great and fierce elephant and showered blows on the vital point. The great beast got mad and whirled round like a potter's wheel, trying to throw off Bhimsena, who was sticking to its leg and attacking it from the below. It bent down and caught Bhima by its trunk and was about to crush him under its knees, when Vrikodara somehow released himself from its hold and again caught below in between its limbs and sticking to the elephant's under region caused exceeding pain to the beast. Bhima was thus gaining time in the hope that some elephant on the Pandava side would be led to attack Bhagdatta's elephant and enable him to get away. But when Bhima disappeared from view, being hidden in between the beast's legs, The soldier thought Bhima was slain. They exclaimed, Bhima is dead. Bhagdata elephant has crushed Bhimasena, and the cry was repeated all over Kurukshetra. Yudhishthir heard the cry and thinking Bhima was slain, urged the forces to destroy Bhagdata. The king of Dasarna charged against Bhagdata. Darsana elephant was also a fierce beast, and there was a great battle between Supratika and Darsana's elephant, but Supratika tusk pierced Darsana's beast in the side and it crashed down dead. At that moment, Bhima emerged from below Supratika and ran out safe, and the Pandava army cheered when they saw Bhima alive. Bhagdata was now attacked on all sides, but he did not lose heart. Resplendent on his elephant, he shone like a forest fire on hill. Ignoring the enemies around, he drove his best on Satyaki's chariot. The elephant seized the chariot with its great tongue and lifting it high dashed it upside down. Satyaki jumped out of the chariot in the time to save himself. His charioteer displayed great ability and agility and saved the vehicle as well as the horses, and riding the chariot drove it to where Satyaki stood. Bhagdata's elephant wrought great havoc in the Pandava army. Hurling warriors about and killing them in great numbers, striking terror wherever it went. Bhagdata stood on its back like Indra on Airavata when he fought the Asuras. While with ears spread out, rigid in anger, and trunk extended in front, the great beast trampled upon numerous horses, chariots, and soldiers and wrought destruction all over the Pandavas' array. The shafts hurled as it seemed only to incense it more. Like a herdsman in the forest driving the cattle where he would, Bhagdata drove the soldier of the Pandava army before him. Bhimasena, equipping himself once again with chariot, renewed his attack on Bhagdata. The elephant stretched out its trunk and blew out a violent spray of mucus and sacred that scared the horses of Bhima's chariot, and they bolted in the wild fight, and the charioteer could not check them. A great cloud of dust rose from the field where this great elephant battle reached. Arjuna saw this from where he was fighting the Samsaptkas, and he also heard the tumult created by Bhagdata's elephant. He feared things had gone wrong and said to Krishna, Madhusudan, this is the cry of Supratika, Bhagdata's elephant. This king of Pragjyotisha is terrible with his elephant and has no equal in that kind of warfare. He is sure to defeat and confound our men. We must proceed at once and save the situation. We have punished this Samsaptkas enough. Drive to where Drona is engaging Yudhishthir. Krishna drove the chariot accordingly towards the main battlefront. Susarma and his brother came up behind the chariot and shouted, Stop, stop. At that same time, they discharged shaft at Arjun's chariot. Arjun was of two minds. Here is Susarma challenging me to battle, and I hated declining this kind of invitation. But there to the north of us, our formation seems broken, and our men are in need of immediate relief. While Arjun was pondering thus, a javelin came hurtling at Arjun and another towards Janardhan. Wild with anger, Arjuna sent three well aimed shafts which compelled Susarma to turn back. They lost no more time but drove quickly to where Bhagdata was doing havoc. As soon as Arjun's car was seen, the Pandavas' forces rallied, and soon Arjuna reached the lines where Bhagdata was. Bhagdata attacked Arjun on Supratika like the destroyer incarnate, but Vasudeva's skilled avoided the shock each time the beast charged. Bhagdata showered arrows on Arjuna and Krishna, but Arjuna's arrow broke the elephant's armor and began to hurt the beast. Bhagdata saw that his elephant could no longer stand an attack, and he hurled a javelin at Krishna. Arjuna met it with a shaft from his bow and broke it broke in, broke it into two. Bhagdata then discharged another javelin that struck Dhananjay's helmet. Readjusting his helmet, Arjuna bent his bow, exclaiming, Bhagdata, take your last look at the world and prepare for death. Bhagdata was a veteran of very advanced age. His grey hair and the wrinkles on his noble old face gave him the intrepid appearance of a lion. Intrepid appearance of lion. Indeed, so old was he that the skin hung loose down over his eyes, had and he had tied its fold over his forehead with a silk handkerchief so that they might not interfere with his sight. Bhagdata was not more renowned for valor than for purity of charioteer and conduct, and was one of the most illustrious among the brave men of his time. Men gave him the title Friend of Indra in recognition of his greatness. Look around for the last time, said the Arjuna to his great men, and hurled at him shafts that broke his bow, shattered his spear, and pierced the joints of his armor. In those days, all warriors wore heavy armor, and the secret of hitting weak points, such as joints and moving parts, was specially studied by Kshatriya and was an important part of military training. When deprived of all his weapons, Bhagdata hurled his elephant god at Arjuna. It was sent with deadly aim and charged with the Vaishnava mantra. It would have killed Arjun, but Krishna came in between and presented himself as a target for the missile. It settled on his chest as a shining necklace. Charged with the mantra of Vishnu, it could not hurt Vishnu, but just became the Lord's jeweled garland round his neck. Janardhan, how is it you have offered yourself as a target for the enemy's missile? You said you would be charioteer and leave all fighting to me. How could you do this? Protested Arjun. Beloved Arjun, you do not understand. This shaft would have killed you if it had hit you, but it is really my own thing and came back to its lawful owner. Krishna said and laughed. Then Partha sent an arrow that entered the head of Bhagdata's elephant as a serpent enters into the ant hill. Bhagdata tried to urge his great beast forward, but it stood stark rigid, and his loud command went in vain, even as the words of men who has lost his wealth are disregarded by his wife. Like a great hill, the elephant stood rigid for a moment, and then it suddenly sank down, driving its tusk into the earth, and yielded up the ghost with an agonized squeal. Arjuna was somewhat grieved at the death of the noble animal and for his not having been able to slay Bhagdata without killing the beast. Arjuna's shaft tore the silken napkin that bound up the folds of the aged king's forehead, and he was blinded at once by his own hanging wrinkles. Soon a sharp crescent headed shaft came and pierced his chest, and Bhagdata fell like a great tree in a storm, his golden necklace shining like flowers on the uprooted tree. The Kaurava forces fell into utter confusion. Shakuni's brother Vrisha and Achala tried their best to oppose Arjun and attacked him in front and rear, but their chariots were soon dashed to the pieces and they were themselves stricken dead on the field like two lion cubs. They both looked much alike and equal noble in appearance. The poet says that the bodies of these two violent heroes who did not flee when the rest fled shed a strange luster all round. Shakuni was full of anger when he saw his brave and incomparable brothers lying dead on the field. He attacked Arjun fiercely and used all the weapons of illusion in which he was skilled, but Arjuna's strokes broke all the charms and rendered them useless, and Shakuni had to leave the field as fast as his horses could bear him. The Pandava forces then attacked Druna's army and wrought great havoc till the sunset, and the 12th day fight ended. Drona gave orders to cease fighting, and the Kauravas forces, which had lost heavily, retired in sullen dejection to their camp. The Pandava army, on the other hand, was in high spirits, and its warriors gathered around campfire in cheerful talk and praise of Arjun and the other heroes who led them to the victory. So friends, we are stopping here and we have finished until chapter number 78, Brave Bhagdata. So we have completed 14 days challenge, like 14 days. 7 days are remaining, and I think that's the plan for another 7 days. 4 chapter each day, and we will be able to finish like 78 chapters have already been covered, so we have to go until 106. And it was a very nice reading challenge because for me also it's the first time. I will read this again because I have this book in hard copy also, so I will be reading after finishing this. I will be reading this again with now good fluency and also with good with right pronunciation. Thank you, my dear friends. I hope you all are reading along with me, and then you will read on your own and will try to understand. And please excuse me for my reading mistakes.